Hey, what's going on? It's Benjamin Gottlieb, Joe Ruggiero's producer, and we're back with Joe Ruggiero Inspired and the people that inspire him. Today, we're going to talk about some of Joe's favorite episodes and why he finds them so inspiring. And I'm sitting across the table right now from Joe himself. Joe, what's going on?
Wait, you just undersell yourself because you inspire me. And I thank
I'm just kidding. This episode is all about how I inspire Joe. Yeah, go ahead, Joe. Tell me.
I thank your grandfather for introducing me to you because he's a generous man and he always wanted to do something because our friendships are so important. And when I said podcast, he said, not a problem. I got a grandson.
I've got someone for that.
Right. In our many talents of our family. But I love my daughter's segment. She was the first.
This is Beth.
Beth Limonach, who just did a cookbook called Entertainment 101, if I can put a plug in.
By the way, it sits on the counter of my grandparents' kitchen, so that book is there.
Oh, that's interesting, because
Yeah.
Your grandmother is a great cook.
She is one of the best, absolutely.
Yeah, she's really good. But the reason I like that episode is that, we took care of the granddaughters when she and her husband were traveling and busy, building this career that
she has
she's
two daughters?
built. Yes, one of which goes to the university in Italy, and one of which is because they live now in France. So I think that's great, but it's the passion that she had. She knew where she wanted to get in her life. And she loves cooking. She loves entertaining. She's my mother reincarnated. I mean, it's as simple as that. And just to be able to talk to her and have that passion just come across to me was very satisfying.
Well, you must be so proud of her.
Absolutely.
As a father, and she's also a mother, but what she's been able to do with her own business. And it really started, correct me if I'm wrong, but it started kind of in the early days working with you on set, right?
Well, yeah, she traveled all over the world with me and picked up a lot of things. She's a lot like her brother in that she absorbs, but you don't know she's absorbing.
Kind of a sneaky absorb, right?
Yeah. And she really was one of the shyest of my children. And she came out. Her older sister, who is rightfully very talented in her own way, tried singing, tried producing. Well, she was the reality queen for years. She discovered Mark Burnett when she was doing Behind the Music. And then now, because she felt that she wanted to do something more meaningful, she's a financial advisor. Go figure.
Right.
But once again, helping people. And I think that that's what I've tried to instill in my children. Help people, either inspiring them or helping them in some way. And I'm proud to say they have.
I mean, that's a really great message for anyone who's listening. If you're looking to find meaning, inspiration in your own life, which is at the foundation, it's the foundation of this program, helping people is a great way to feel that sort of fulfillment. I find that when I go and teach at the university, when I'm helping people just in my neighborhood. I mean, they joke around in my street. We live on a little cul-de-sac in Sherman Oaks. And my neighbors call me the mayor of the cul-de-sac because I'm always out and talking. But I genuinely find fulfillment from helping people. And it seems like that's what you've instilled in your kids.
Well, yes. And of course, my dad was the power of positive thinking. And I can remember he had a new car and he wanted to drive it cross country. So
Okay. Do
we
you remember
all
what kind of car it was?
Yes.
Okay.
It was a Cadillac.
Okay, nice. I love it.
In those days.
I'm trying to get a mental picture of what that looked like.
In those days. He was an immigrant, from
Sure, of course.
Calabria. And this was a big deal in the United States. And we went to San Francisco. I'll never forget my first tasting, and I mean tasting, of San Francisco, because we went to Chinatown. And we dealt with this gentleman who had a dealership in San Francisco. And I don't want to say any names, but he was a great guy, and we had a wonderful evening. Fast forward,
Yeah.
I was doing a show house in San Francisco, and unbeknownst to me, this woman interviewed me. What do you think about San Francisco? Are you enjoying yourself? What inspires you? Et cetera, et cetera. And I said, well, I can remember this guy that was a friend of my father. They called him the mayor of Chinatown. She looked at me. She turned ashen. She said, that was my grandfather.
Oh, my God.
And it was so interesting because she then changed her pace about the interview.
Of course.
And it became more apparent why I love San Francisco. But what were your favorites?
Well, I'd love to talk about them. Just if I can, one more question about Beth. That story is one of my favorites too. And one of the reasons is that she built something from nothing. I remember her talking about how she created this YouTube channel where she was filming herself making her recipes and cooking. And she did that on her own, in her own home, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right?
Yeah.
With really, outside of working with you and her background, she hadn't made it or managed a YouTube channel before. And it's become so successful. And to me, I think that is a really powerful lesson because we can get stuck in this 0 to 1 kind of stage, right? Where it's like, okay, I have this great idea, but to execute is so frustrating, and I have a little bit of lack of self-worth or confidence.
Well, she was never in front of the camera.
Right.
I mean, when I was doing This Old House, she was my assistant. And I said, do you want an appearance on This Old House? She said, Dad, read my lips. I don't want to be in front of the camera. And now she's in front of the camera.
Right.
Because she loves what she's doing.
And that didn't at all chafe with her shyness that you talked about as a young child, right? I mean, it seems like she's overcome that.
Right. I know. And she loves what she does. She's good at what she does. And she's my mother.
Right.
I mean,
amazing.
it's interesting. And she never ever knew her.
Well, by the way, if you're listening right now and you want to go back and check out Beth's episode, it's the first episode here on the podcast, and we've also re-released it as well. By the way, Joe, you've had 45 podcast episodes,
Wow.
if you can believe that.
Seems
45 podcast episodes. Seems like yesterday. And I'm so excited that today we get to talk about some of our favorites. Your favorites for sure, but you asked me some of mine. And one of the interviews that really stood out to me was with a landscape architect. His name is Juan Camilo Ospina Lodoño, and he works at a firm, Hoffman and Ospina. That's his firm with his partner. I just loved how you two talked about the landscape of California, of Southern California, and you both really just were getting into it about gardening and your love for plants and gardening and the aesthetic of the outdoors, which aligns very much with your own personal interests and your career path as well.
Right. Well, of course, I've always taken my homes that I've owned and I've ripped them apart. And I planted every plant and transported trees were little babies and watched them grow. And my uncle, I guess, said, why does he always buy the dump of the neighborhood?
Right.
Only because I like to, change it.
Well, you could see what it could be. You saw its potential.
Well, I have always said I'm like manure. I'm all over the place, but watching things grow. That's from Hello, Dolly.
Right.
Right.
Well, that was a little bit over my head, but I'll take your word for it.
Okay.
Well, but what is it, Joe? What is it about California or Southern California landscaping that is so appealing to you?
Well, anything grows here, and we have ideal weather. It's a desert, but we're able to irrigate, and it's just you can garden 12 months out of the year, and I love gardening. I don't do much of that anymore, but I still love it.
Why? Like, what is it about gardening that you love?
Well, I like the idea of watching things grow, obviously, and I love nature. And of course, I've been tutored by the great gardeners of England, the great gardeners of Italy, and traveling through these massive feats that people have changed, man-made, just gives me inspiration. And I can remember my dad, who was an immigrant from Italy, taking us to Williamsburg, Virginia, and just watching how people lived back then.
Sure.
And the gardens of Virginia. And my dad always liked living museums that were functional. And that's why I think he liked Williamsburg a great deal.
Well, you mentioned my grandfather, Eugene, earlier.
Yes.
Which I'll put a name on him. And I bring him up in the context of gardening because he also is a very prolific gardener. I'm sure you know. And I have some very fond memories as a young boy at his house, picking up the figs that had fallen on the floor, helping him replant the seasonal flowers.
Yes.
And he thought it was very important for all of the grandkids to get their hands dirty and to be out in the garden. And as a kid, I don't think I really appreciated the subtle lessons that you get from gardening, the attention to detail, the balance that gardening takes, right? Too much nitrogen in your soil and your plants won't grow. Too much water, they'll die. Not enough, they shrivel up. There's something deeper there, I think, as well, outside of just the aesthetic
Nurture.
beauty.
Nurturing. But also, I think some of the most beautiful gardens are the gardens in France, in these marvelous chateaus that have been trained. Topiary. I love topiary. I don't know why. But I also, two other segments stick to my mind. Dara Baker and Karen Millay, who both worked for me when I was editor-in-chief of Home Magazine. And their take on the projects that we did together. We built Holmes House, and Dara took off. She really just was side by side with my vision. And we created this home that was an old ranch burger, and we turned it into a sort of, if John Fowler, the famous English designer, lived in California. That's the home that I think he would have.
What part of California was the home?
It was in the valley.
It was in the valley. Okay.
Yeah, Woodland Hills.
Okay.
But we photographed it, and we did a TV segment on it, actually with Kitty Bartholomew on the ABC Home Show. It was very rewarding. It was very rewarding.
Well, and both of those individuals, both Karen and Dara, you mentioned they worked with you, but they're also both photographers, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Well, Dara is a stylist.
Okay.
But she photographs as well.
Right, yeah.
But Karen is an interiors photographer. That's the career she wanted, and she pursued it, and she made it happen. I love people that make things happen, just like you.
Well, that's very kind. Only speaking for myself, but sometimes, and I'm sure maybe you can relate, maybe not, maybe this is just me, but sometimes I find myself in a moment where I feel like I have the ability to make something happen, but there are things that are holding me back. They pull me back. Maybe it's self-doubt, or maybe it's fear of failure. Those are not uncommon for people, all sorts of people, right? But your angels, so to speak, the people that you like to have on this program, they often find ways to fight through those feelings, don't they? Yeah.
I think that's the underlying thing. That's why I think maybe we should call it Journeys. But how did they get here?
You heard it right here. We're rebranding the show.
No. I like inspiration. I like inspired. But I think that, and I think that Deanne has said this in her faith segments, that we need to educate ourselves how to mount the hurdles. How do we address them? And I think it's the power of positive thinking. I can do it. You can do it. You can do it. And it's just, don't ever say that my family's holding me back. I have a kid. I got a mortgage. I got a wife. That's no excuse. You can still do it.
And Deanne's segments, we've done a couple now with Deanne, maybe 3. They have been really inspiring, and they come at a really important time, I think, for this program. We have this incredible catalog of inspiring people, and there's also the je ne sais quoi, there's the intangibles that we talk around, and I think Deanne really gets at them. It's the things that help get you through your day, the way that you make sense of this life that we live, which can be so befuddling, confusing, why things happen the way they do. And, life is full of so many questions, don't you think?
It is. And I think that losing a son was very hard on us. But the amount of people that he helped, and he's left 2 incredible sons. He's left an amazing wife who's been able to carry on the strength. She loses it once in a while, but she regains herself because she's an amazing woman. I like to surround myself with people who have a story to tell. Or I'm getting to the fact that I like to surround myself with young geniuses because
Again,
I'm
kind
losing,
that I'm young, but
I'm losing so many of my friends. But the young you can learn so much from, whether it be the health caregivers in the residence, but there seems to be a caring, there seems to be a unity in thinking. There are some 1 or 2 bad apples, and you don't have to associate yourself with them. You can try, but I'd rather concentrate on the people that have something to contribute.
Yeah, and I feel the same way. Teaching at the university, I'm
Yeah.
constantly around, the students are the same age. I keep getting older, and it keeps me engaged with new trends, what's happening. I learn from them just as much as I would imagine I'm teaching them in the classroom.
Do they call you Mr. Chips?
Well, they call me, that's funny, what do they call me? Often it's Professor Gottlieb, which my wife and I joke about, but some feel comfortable to call me Ben or Benjamin. Sometimes, I'll tell you, sometimes it is strange because I think what I've noticed is there's a erosion of formality that's happening
Yes.
with technology, right? So I would never text message my professor. I would never send an email to my professor that didn't have perfect punctuation.
Yeah.
But communication is changing. It's so much quicker. I'll get all lowercase emails. I'll get text messages like, "Hey, Ben." I'm like, who is this?
Right.
It's my students. But again, it's just, understanding that things are changing. And I'll give you another example. I think we talked about this last time we were on mic. The way that people entertain is changing, which I think in your field, you have probably noticed too. It's way more common when we have dinner parties to hang out in the kitchen, which you would never do. You would hang out in a living space, a den, or a dining room, right?
Right.
And that brings up all sorts of challenges for interior designers like yourself, right?
Well, that's right. I mean, we are knocking down walls, opening things up. I still like an elegant dinner. We always, for 57 years,
Sit down.
always had candlelight at our dining
Really?
table, yes. Even if we had hamburgers or scrambled eggs or grilled cheese. And always flowers. And it just made us calm down, exchange, what was your day like? How were the kids, or whatever. Then when my wife began to become a professional, she rose to vice president of the Pacific Design Center quickly because she had a lot of schooling. My daughter's always waited on tables, and Beth to this day says it's the best way of balancing a lot of things in the air. You have to be nice to the people.
Literally and figuratively, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, you're saying you have to be nice to the guests. What other
You have
things?
to make sure the meals are coming up on time. If there's a big group, you have to be sure that it's timed to serve them all at once.
Yeah.
But it's serving the public. And I think that's what we need more of.
No doubt. And, sticking with this theme of learning from younger people in your life, this is a recap, so to speak, of some of the most interesting episodes on this podcast. And you can always check them out wherever you get your podcasts. Apple, Spotify, we're on YouTube, you name it, 45 distinct episodes. I don't know, Joe, if you recall, but we did an episode out back outside with a young LA designer. He was a
Yes.
young man. His name was Miller McCoy,
Right.
from like Des Moines, Iowa, Midwest, and came to Los Angeles to achieve his dream of being a clothing designer.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And building a brand, which I thought was fascinating, because here's this guy that came into the interview unassuming, but he was like the steel magnolia. I mean, he had a vision and he was going to make it happen. And that was a very, very interesting segment as well. And all of these segments will be up there for the foreseeable future on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
Absolutely. There are some reoccurring guests. You have folks that you like to come back to
Yes,
and hear
I
from.
do.
I think we've had Brett Parsons a couple times. What is it about chatting with Brett that you really like, and what's been your experience just learning from what he has to share on the show?
Well, he's handled a number of celebrity properties. He also is now in charge of architecturally famous properties. And I just remember going through Connie Wald's house where Audrey Hepburn used to stay. She wasn't a big, splashy, let's dance all night. She loved to cook. She loved Connie's cooking. And the two of them would go out shopping, have a wonderful time, come back and cook up a great meal. And that's what Audrey liked. And when it went up for sale, I kind of wanted something of Audrey's.
Sure.
And I bought this chair that she used to have her two sons sit in, and because it was low to the ground. And I love telling the story of how I got that chair. And because I'm not a braggart, as you know.
Not at all.
But I do.
I would have a lot of different adjectives to describe you besides that one. Very humble guy.
But I am very, very fortunate to have you propel this podcast. And we've gotten a lot of interest and a lot of listeners, which is good.
And speaking of which, we recently had Kelly Martin on the show, actress Kelly Martin. This was just a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I was really struck by that interview. She was so honest, I think, with you about her experience as a childhood actor, and then her new stage in life where she's perfectly content on her family home farm, feeding goats and taking care of pigs and complaining about the grumpy tortoise that lives on her property. And that was really enlightening for me. And I'll tell you what was enlightening about that interview in particular. Here's someone who achieved fame at a young age, great success. And she mentions in the interview, I was my most unhappy when I was making the most amount of money.
Yeah.
And that was arresting to me. I was like, wow, my goodness, here you are. She wanted to be on TV as a young kid, and then she gets this, she summits the mountain and is unhappy. And she seemed perfectly content when you were talking with her recently.
Yeah. But the natural progression would be that she produces or directs. She hates to direct, but she does like to produce. And a producer is able to gather scripts or gather of interest, hire a director, hire the talent. They really control their producer.
Sure.
They're a producer. And I think that there are certain people in this world that are producers, such as you, but you also happen to be an educator.
Yes.
And you're a great teacher. So combine them some way.
Do you want to audit my class, Joe? You want to come by and audit my class?
I think I would love to. I would love to.
I'd love to have you in the class. You know, it's just back to Kelly. Again, I think you've been joking now that the show maybe should be called Journeys, and we're not changing the show. But I think if you were to ask me, sitting behind the microphones and watching you interview all these really interesting people, I think the show could be called Lessons, because I'm learning from these people, and I'm learning not just what they've done in their lives, but how I could apply that to my own life. And that is the soft power, so to speak, of this program, I think.
Well, I try, because I'm interested in people. I'm interested how they got to where they got to. And you can find out so many things about people by asking them questions and not talking about yourself. And that's the thing that impressed me about Oprah when I first did her show, is that she really listened. She was interested in what you had to say. And that isn't always the way with other interviewers.
No, sometimes, and other people. Sometimes they're just waiting for their turn to talk.
Right.
They're not really listening. I think you do the same thing, Joe. I think you do really listen.
I try to, because I can learn that way. And it's not too late to teach an old dog new tricks, being an old dog or a goat or whatever. But,
well, certainly not a goat.
Uh-huh.
We'll stick with the dog metaphor.
Okay.
Not that I have anything against goats. They're lovely animals. But again, speaking of, quote unquote, this old dog and learning new tricks, Joe, you're not done learning. You're not done with this podcast. We've got more episodes coming up. I'm curious, in the next few months, what are some of the things you're hoping to learn about? What are some things that are interesting to you, and what are some areas where you hope to explore a little bit more?
Well, I think being on this hallowed ground at the Calabasas Country Club, the former Warner Ranch, there were so many movies, so many creations of faraway lands. The Good Earth was shot here, which was about China. I guess when you think of how they were able to build these sets, build whole communities right here on this ground, it's fascinating for me. And I'd like to get more of the old Hollywood history on. But I also like the idea of getting designers to tell and how they built their business, and foodies. We haven't had enough food people.
We have not, and I'm really hungry right now, so we could definitely. It'd be great to have someone bring some food by the set here. Yeah, foodies, and I mean, would you consider yourself a foodie?
I love food, and I love good food. I
Italian
used to
in you.
love to cook, but I don't. Now I welcome meals being prepared for me. But just like your grandmother, she has in her DNA entertaining. She's a great cook. She sets a beautiful table, and it's always interesting going over to her house. I'll rearrange any kind of schedule I have if I get an invitation from her. And that's in your DNA too.
And it's funny. It's funny. No, it really is. And when you think about the component parts that make up who you are, you know, you speak very affectionately about your parents. You know, my grandparents are certainly up there. I cook for my family almost every day.
I didn't know that.
And I love it. I love it, from the barbecue to the stovetop to the oven. There's something about nurturing, feeding somebody.
Yeah.
I love to cook for my friends, for my family. It's really fun. And for me also, I love when I can have a short-term goal and accomplish it. Cooking can be that way. Okay,
Yes.
I've got 2 hours. I've got to prepare rice, get the barbecue going, get the salad made, put it on the table. It's done. Family likes it, and I've achieved a goal. And it's nice. I think if I can set up a lot of little short-term goals in my day, it makes it very fulfilling.
Yeah. And I think that is an expression of your friendship. And, you know.
We'll have to cook for you someday, Joe.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you like? What's your go-to?
I like all things. I like Chinese, I like Italian, I like French. You know, believe it or not, two of the best French and Italian meals I've ever had were in Japan. The Japanese love Italian food and French food, and they cook it superbly.
I wouldn't tell that story to your French son-in-law. Right?
Or my Italian relatives.
Or your Italian relatives.
Well, it's always fun talking to you, and keep up the good work.
Well, if I'm with you, Joe, I think I can. So thanks so much. And keep listening. If you're out there, listen to the show. Subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts.